Hello friends, welcome you all to Digi Accounto. As we promised to provide business ATM every week. So we are here with mantra of week. Conditions relating to claim ITC, which means Input Tax Credit under GST. So let's take an intro of GST. GST is based on the value added system model, that is, tax is paid only on the value addition at each stage of the supply chain. Tax paid on procurement of goods and service is allowed as credit, which can be utilized of making the payment of tax on the outward supply. This mantra covers all legal points relating to conditions and restrictions of claiming ITC given under the GST. Conditions and restrictions relating to GST Input Tax Credit. The GST law provides that a registered person would be entitled to claim credit of input tax charged on the supply of goods and service which are used or intended to be used by him in the course and furtherance of his business. The credit can be availed subject to certain conditions and restrictions which are given under the GST. These conditions and restrictions are as under. Condition number 1. Possession of the tax paying document. The GST Act provides that the registered person must have in possession of tax invoice, bill of entry, self invoice, debit note, or such other tax paying documents as mentioned in the GST rules. Second is detail of invoice furnished under GST R1 and communicated to recipient in GST R2B. With effect from January 1, 2022, the registered person would be eligible to claim the ITC only when the detail of invoice or debit notes are uploaded by their vendors in their form GST R1 and the same as reflect in form GST R2B. Third is actual receipt of goods and service. Before availing any ITC, the registered person is required to ensure that he has actual received the goods or service. The specific issues relating to the condition are discussed in the following slide. ITC in case of advance paid or service as per the time of supply provisions given under the GST legislation. The liability to pay GST on advance receipt of the supply of goods to be provided arises on the date of receipt of advance. In this regard, the supplier is required to issue a receipt voucher to the recipient. Although the recipient pay the GST on advance to the supplier, however, ITC on the same can be claimed only when the service are received. ITC when invoice is received before the actual receipt of goods or service. The recipient may receive an invoice in relation to the particular supply before the actual receipt of goods or service. A situation may arise where the invoice is received in a given month, but goods in relation to such supply are received in the subsequent month. In this regard, one may note that ITC can be availed only in the month in which ITC were billed to party deemed as receipt under bill to ship to arrangement. The GST legislation provides specific provision from bill to ship to arrangement. In this scenario, the law relaxes the condition of receipt of goods and service by bill to party. The bill to party is treated as a deemed recipient of goods or service. Separate provision in this regard are given under the GST legislation. For the goods and for service, the same is discussed in the below paragraph. There may be two scenarios. First is bill to ship to arrangement, supply of goods. The GST law in the below scenario provides that all shall be deemed that the registered person who has given the direction would be treated as a recipient of goods, where the goods are delivered by the supplier to the recipient or any other person on the direction of such registered person. The direction may be given before or during the moment of person directing may be acting as an agent or otherwise. It can be either by way of transfer of documents of title to goods or otherwise. Therefore, as per the above, in the case of bill to ship to transactions where goods are delivered by a supplier on the direction of its buyer to any third person, then such buyer would be treated as a deemed recipient of the goods. Scenario second is bill to ship to arrangement, supply of goods. The GST law provides that where the service are provided by the supplier to any person on the direct of and on account of a registered person, then such registered person would be treated as recipient of a supply of service. Condition number fifth, ITC where goods are received in the GST law provide that where goods against an invoice are received in lots of installment, the registered person would be entitled to take the ITC upon receipt of the last lot or installment. Condition number 6. Payment of tax to the government. The registered person shall be entitled to the input tax credit only when the tax charge in respect of supply has been paid by the supplier to the government, either in each or through the utilization of the ITC. Condition number 7. Payment to vendor within 180 days. The GST law provides that where a recipient fails to pay to the supplier the amount towards the value of supply along with tax payable thereon within a period of 180 days from the date of issue of invoice by the supplier, then such a recipient would be required to reverse ITC availed along with the interest thereon, that is payability. Time limit to avail input tax credit. Under the GST legislation, the registered person can avail ITC in respect or invoice or debit notes up to the earlier of the following dates. First is 30th November following the end of the financial year to which such invoice or debit notes pertain, or furnishing of the relevant annual return. Blocking of ITC where restrictions and conditions are not complete. The GST law provides that were the commissioner or any other person authorized by him in the regard having reason to believe that input tax credit availed in the electronic credit letter as has been fraudulently availed or is ineligible in the then specific circumstance, then such officer may block such credit in electronic credit letter for discharge of any liability. Like, subscribe and follow us at Facebook, Instagram and YouTube channel. Choose Digi Accounto as your compliance partner. We are accurate, professional or cost effective. Thank you.